Welcome to the podcasts of DiscoverGreece.com, the travel platform of Marketing Greece. Here, you listen to your journeys, the ones you've taken and the ones you're planning. You'll discover captivating stories hidden behind Greece's archaeological sites. Together, we travel through space and time, telling stories brought to light through the traces left behind by people who lived and created in these places thousands of years ago. Follow the thread of history with us from yesterday to today. This episode was created by Marketing Greece for Hellenic Heritage. In 18th century Kastoria, trade brought success, wealth, journeys, and tales from distant lands. But how did merchants bring the splendor of Central Europe to a lakeside city in northern Greece? What were the owners protecting behind their high courtyard walls? And why did they cover their interior walls with imagined cities, roosters, and dragons? Stepping inside the Tsiatsiapas Mansion in Kastoria, we discover how wealth from the fur trade was transformed into a house that bridges east and west. You are in the Apozari district on the northern side of Kastoria's old town. It is one of the city's oldest and most aristocratic neighborhoods. Here, you walk along picturesque cobbled streets, the so-called kalterimia, among Byzantine churches and past buildings that reflect the traditional architecture of the Ottoman period in Greece. One of these buildings is the Tsiatsiapas Mansion, which, according to a carved stone inscription, was constructed in 1754. It was a period when Kastoria's merchants, many of them fur traders, were expanding their business activities with great success. Indeed, the mansion's first owner, a man named Moralis, was a prominent local figure and most likely a wealthy merchant. Imagine the finest craftsmen of the time shaping this mansion in the Macedonian architectural style. Painters and woodcarvers decorated its interior, drawing on local tradition, the Eastern artistic influences seen in the Sultan's palaces, and elements of the Baroque and Rococo styles that dominated the capitals of Europe. The result was an exceptional example of architectural eclecticism. Later, the mansion was sold to another leading local figure and merchant named Tsiatsiapas, from whom it still takes its name. Tradition says that dances were held in its garden, accompanied by live music played on traditional instruments, sometimes lasting for weeks. It is an image that reflects both the economic prosperity and the cosmopolitan character of the people who lived here. Standing before the mansion, you observe its distinctive architecture. It is the only surviving three-story mansion in Kastoria with a rectangular floor plan. Another feature that sets it apart is the open wooden projection on its northern side, known as the Iliakos, which extends across both the first and second floors, something like a balcony in modern terms. Its fortified character is immediately apparent, reflecting the needs and habits of the time, both for protection and as a display of power. The ground floor and the mezzanine level have walls built entirely of rough stone. The windows are few and small, secured with iron bars. But as you move to the upper floors, the materials change. Stone gives way to timber-framed construction. This was not only an aesthetic choice, but also a matter of good engineering, creating an ideal anti-seismic structure with a solid base and a lighter upper section. The windows on the upper floors become larger and more numerous, forming skylights decorated with colorful floral and geometric patterns. Behind the mansion's impressive facade lay the true source of its prosperity: trade and fur. In Ottoman-era Kastoria, fur was not simply a commodity. It was a passport to the wider world. Kastoria's merchants did not remain static. They were continually expanding their commercial activities. Many of them relocated to Constantinople, the Danubian principalities, and Central Europe. Yet, no matter how far they traveled, their roots remained here in their family homes. Much of the money they earned was sent back to their relatives in Kastoria. The city's impressive mansions were built with these funds, usually 3 or 4 stories high, expressing the economic prosperity of their owners. Most were constructed during the 17th and 18th centuries in the districts of Apozari and Dolzo. The driving force of the Tsiatsiapas Mansion was on the ground floor and the mezzanine level, in the working spaces where the stone feels colder and the atmosphere heavier. By contrast, the upper floors were devoted to family and social life. On the lower floors were the cellar and fur workshop. Imagine the sounds here: scissors cutting the skins with precision, the voices of the craftsmen, the steady rhythm of footsteps on earth or stone. Alongside the money sent back by merchants living abroad came raw materials. Precious skins were processed here and then sent off once again to the great markets of Europe. This economic prosperity allowed Moralis and later Tsiatsiapas to incorporate elements of Baroque and Rococo style into their home. The wealth generated by trade paid for the colored glass skylights, the carved wooden ceilings, and the wall paintings that cover every available surface. Stepping inside, you encounter the typical layout of an 18th-century Macedonian mansion. There is a continuous alteration between enclosed and open spaces for rest and sleep, as well as for dining, reception, and entertainment, serving all the needs of the household. The mansion consists of a ground floor, a mezzanine level, and 2 upper floors. The ground floor is divided in 2, and the rear section is further divided into 3 smaller rooms, which functioned as storage and service spaces. On the mezzanine level, there are another 3 rooms, which served as work areas. In the northern part of the first floor, you come to the doxatos, a single rectangular space used for reception and daily living. In its western section, there is a raised area known as the krevatas, which would today function much like a sitting room. The krevatas extends from the main body of the building. These projections, supported by wooden beams, were known as sachnisia and are frequently found in Macedonian architecture as they allowed craftsmen to create additional interior space. Here, in the doxatos on the first floor, the character is more restrained, as the principal and more formal reception space is located higher up on the second floor. In the southern part of the first floor, there are 3 odates, that is, living quarters that serve the everyday needs of the family. However, the second floor is the most formal and luxurious part of the house. Above the staircase leading to the second floor, you will see 2 painted lions that seem to function as apotropaic symbols, meaning they were intended to ward off evil and envy. before you reach the formal floor of the house. It is filled with light from its many windows and skylights and intended for celebrations and all the family's formal occasions. It broadly follows the layout of the first floor, but it is distinguished by greater luxury and more elaborate decoration. You will also find the large doxatos here, which serves as the formal reception area. This floor also retains the mansion's parthenonas, a small raised room with a latticed window overlooking the doxatos. From there, the young women of the family could observe the celebrations without being seen, in keeping with the customs of the time. The decoration of the second floor is of particular interest and reflects both the family's social standing and their cosmopolitan character. The wall paintings unfold in horizontal bands, covering every surface in an effort to leave no space bare. The technique used is dry fresco, in colors such as blue, olive green, white, and red. Look closely at the details. Floral motifs dominate, along with vases and baskets of fruit. You will see depictions of cities and buildings shown in an imaginative style. One of these cities may be a representation of Constantinople. Do you notice the fountain with domes and crosses at the top, or the buildings set among the trees? There are also more unusual motifs: winged dragons, roosters, symbols drawn from popular tradition, and the image of a sliced watermelon with a knife and fork embedded in it. All these painted surfaces are framed by small columns and crowned with a curved frame decorated with acanthus leaves. Rich ornamentation also appears in the wooden elements throughout the space, from the ceilings to the built-in cupboards and doors. The painting of the mansion belongs to the tradition of secular murals, combining elements of local artistic practice with decorative trends from the great centers of the West, as well as with the decoration of the Sultan's palaces in Constantinople. In 2013, the Tsiatsiapas Mansion was restored and fully opened to visitors. Today, it is not simply a building, but an example of eclectic architecture. It reflects the wealth and cosmopolitan outlook of people who traveled for months at a time, and when they returned, wanted their home to show that they belonged to a wider world. Their luxurious private life was a way of projecting their public image in a competitive society. But perhaps it was also an attempt to protect their memory for future generations. If so, the owners of the Tsiatsiapas Mansion have undoubtedly succeeded. So, when you find yourself in Kastoria, make your way to the Apozari district, step inside this grand mansion, and stand beneath its carved wooden ceilings. Imagine the formal doxatos filled with local dignitaries and merchants. And perhaps you too will sense that cosmopolitan air that remains alive in its colors and stone centuries later. That's where we'll leave it for now, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to discover more of Greece's cultural treasures and listen to our travel stories, follow our channel, Discover Greece Travel Podcasts, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until next time.